What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I have my prediction videos for rivalry week of college football. Yes, already rivalry week. Man, this season has flown by, and hey, every season does, but this one especially feels like it. But I guess time flies when you're having fun, and we're going to have a lot of fun this upcoming weekend as there are some great matchups. I love a rivalry week. It is the best week of college football and the best week in sports, period. I love it so much. It just feels like Christmas to me. But before I get into it, I want to say two things. One, I want to say thank you for clicking on the video. Please consider subscribing. I put a lot of work into this content, and it's really fun, and I love to talk college football with people. I talk college football on the daily, and if you love college football, you'll love my channel. Please consider hitting the subscribe and the like. Two, I want to say that there are links in the description to each part of the video. So if you want to see me talk about a specific game, then I have a link to that in the description. But let's get into it. Let's talk about how I've done on my predictions. Last week, I went 8-2 overall. And against the spread, I went 6-4. Not bad. Not bad at all. And for my standards, that's a pretty good week, honestly. Maybe not a good week for most people, but for my awful standards, that's a decent week. On the season total, that brings me up to a 85-30 overall. That gives me a 74% correct percentage predicting games overall. And on the spread, or against the spread, I am 52-63, good for a 45% correct percentage. We have some important weeks coming up. Of course, this video is rivalry week, but then you have championship game week, bowl games, playoffs, national championship, and I hope I can do really good on those games and get those numbers up. But let's get into the games. Starting off with the top 5 teams, like I always do. At the first game, I have number 5 LSU, which, man, 5 LSU, I don't agree with that. Go watch my personal rankings if you want to know what I think about LSU, but I have them a few spots back. I don't think they should be at number 5. The committee really surprised me with that one. But number 5 LSU at Texas A&M. LSU is favored by 10 in this ball game, and I can see why. Texas A&M has been a dumpster fire this season. 4-7 on the year. They had such high hopes going into the season with Jimbo Fisher beating Alabama last year, then having the number 1 recruiting class. People were picking them for the SEC. Hell, Desmond Howard picked them to win it all, and they have not lived up to the hype, to say the least, as they are not going to a bowl game, and they'll be lucky to finish with 5 wins if they pick up this game. But don't underestimate them. Kyle Field is one of the most dangerous, hardest places to play in all of college football. And we've seen LSU struggle. We've seen LSU lose to a Florida State team. We've seen LSU get blown out by Tennessee. LSU barely beat Alabama. They barely beat Arkansas. This LSU team is not indestructible in the slightest. And Texas A&M, this will be their last game of the season no matter what. And even though it's been a bad year, Jimbo could get them boys wanting to win this game. LSU's had an amazing season. They are top 20 in offense and defense, particularly good passing and rushing, very well balanced, and they have a really good run offense with Jaden Daniels as a dual threat quarterback and John Emery as a great running back. LSU is looking pretty good, but Texas A&M has not looked good as LSU, not even the slightest, as they have a terrible offense, bad passing offense, bad rushing offense. They do have a decent defense, an amazing pass defense, I'll give them credit for, but just an awful run defense. But I think LSU's more well-balanced. I like Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's doing amazing things in his first year. I said he wouldn't, but he is. He's proved me wrong, and I'm able to admit that. I think Jaden Daniels has a big game. I think John Emery in specific has a big game. And I don't see Texas A&M putting up that many points with people like Harold Perkins and B.J. Ujulari rushing after Connor Wakeman. So, This has become a really good rivalry game. They've combined for some really good games. LSU won last year, 27-24. The last time A&M won was 2020 when LSU had the national title fall off. LSU leads the series all time with 35 wins to 22 losses and 3 ties. LSU has a 73 win probability. And I'm going to pick LSU in this ball game. I think LSU wins. Now, it'll be a little closer with this being the last game of the season. LSU may be looking forward to Georgia. But with it being at Kyle Field, but I think LSU's really good. I don't think Texas A&M is that good. Give me LSU. I think they cover too. LSU wins 31-17. LSU wins and they cover. Next, I have Iowa State at number 4 TCU. This is a game, when I first wrote it down, I was like, I know who I'm picking easily. Then I started looking at stats. I started thinking about it, and I flip-flopped on this one. Let me go over it. TCU is favored by 10, and I think that's way too much. TCU's been amazing this season. I will give them that. They are undefeated. They have a top 10 offense and a top 30 defense, and amazing on both sectors of offense, running and passing, with Max Duggan and Quentin Johnson and Kendre Miller. That offense is great. But their defense has not been up to par, especially their passing defense. And Iowa State's defense is one of the best in the nation. They have a top 10 defense, a top 10 passing defense, and a top 15 running defense. Iowa State's defense has been good. I think the thing that maybe made me go with TCU is the fact that Iowa State's offense is not that great. They have a good passing offense, but they just have an awful running offense. And so I went back and forth on this one, but I did come to the conclusion that I was going to pick TCU in a very, very close one, considering it's at TCU. TCU's undefeated. Iowa State's not had a good record this season, 4-7. They've played bad in close games, but I think they're a lot better than the record says. But I am going to take TCU. It's just going to be extremely close to me. 28-27, TCU wins, but they do not cover. I'm going to save number 3 Michigan and number 2 Ohio State for later in the video. But our next one, to round out the top 5, we have Georgia Tech at number 1 Georgia. Georgia is a massive favorite in this game, favored by 35 points. And you can see why. Georgia Tech is 5-6. Now, they did get a big win over North Carolina last week, knocking North Carolina out of playoff contention. But their offense is not that amazing. They have an awful pass offense and not really a good run offense either. And their defense isn't particularly great. Their defense is a lot better, but it's not particularly great. They have a decent pass defense. And Georgia, on the other hand, they look like Georgia. Undefeated, top 5 offense, best defense in the country, and amazing on every single front. Amazing pass offense, amazing running the ball, amazing defending the pass, amazing defending the run. They are amazing on all ends of the ball. Stetson Bennett's a great quarterback. Kenny McIntosh is a great running back. Brock Bowers, a great receiver. Jalen Carter, great on the line. Keely Ringo, great in the secondary. Georgia has not have that many weaknesses. Now, they played down to their competition some games. They didn't play great versus Kentucky. They haven't played great versus teams like Missouri. But I think Georgia comes here and they want to make a statement in their last game, their last home game of the season, senior day for Georgia. And this is a very historic rivalry. Georgia won last year 45-0. The last time Georgia Tech beat Georgia was 2016 when they won by 1 point. Georgia leads the series all time with 69 wins, 41 losses, and 5 ties. And Georgia has a 99% win probability. Yep, I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs, and it won't be particularly close. Give me Georgia 42-0. Georgia wins, and they cover the spread. Then I have Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Tennessee, obviously, coming off that big big loss to South Carolina that has effectively ended their season and their postseason chances. And the worst thing is Hendon Hooker got hurt in that game, which even if they play amazing versus Vanderbilt and absolute chaos happens, I mean absolute chaos, I don't think there's any way for Tennessee to sneak in at all, especially with Hendon Hooker injured. So they're done, but they've still had an amazing season. They have a top 3 offense and an amazing pass offense, and I still think Joe Milton is a good quarterback. Now, is he going to be Hendon Hooker? No, but he's still a good quarterback, and I still think Josh Heupel is a very smart guy, and his scheme will work well. But as good as Tennessee is, Vanderbilt has been on a hot streak as of late, beating 2 ranked opponents, Kentucky and Florida, or 2 SEC opponents. My apologies. But yes, Vanderbilt has been on quite the hot streak. Now, the thing that really gave me the advantage to picking Tennessee in this game is the fact that Vanderbilt has the worst pass defense in the entire country. The worst. And Tennessee, even without Hendon Hooker, they still have Joe Milton. They still have Josh Heupel's scheme. And they still have that incredible wide receiver room with Jalen Hyatt, Brew McCoy, and Cedric Tillman. Not including Jabari Small in the ground game. Yes, I'm going to take Tennessee. The line for this game was 14 points in favor of Tennessee. I think that's way too much, though. I do respect Vanderbilt in the hot streak they're on. I think Clark Lee's a good coach. Give me 35-24. Tennessee wins, but they do not cover. Our next game. This game will be played on Friday. It is NC State at number 17, North Carolina. North Carolina, like I mentioned earlier, had playoff chances, and then they took that fatal second loss last week to Georgia Tech. But yes, North Carolina, very good. An amazing offense, especially their passing offense led by Drake May, one of the best players in the country. But they are awful on defense. I mean, just absolutely awful. Awful against the pass, awful against the run, awful against everything. But NC State has not been great either. They have a very bad offense, bad passing, awful rushing. But their defense is pretty good. They have an amazing rush defense and a mid-pass defense. But in in-state rivalry, NC State beat them last year 34-30. And the last time North Carolina beat NC State was 2020. North Carolina leads the series all time, 68 wins, 37 losses, and 6 ties. North Carolina has a 60% win probability, and I am going to go with North Carolina. I think Drake May and Josh Downs are too much. NC State really fell off after they lost Devin Leary earlier in the season, and I think North Carolina pulls this one out. Mac Brown will lead these guys to a victory. 42-24. North Carolina wins by 18. North Carolina wins and they cover. Our next game is the Sunflower Showdown. You'll have to wait a few minutes for the Sunshine Showdown. But the Sunflower Showdown, Kansas at number 12 Kansas State. A game that surprisingly 2 very good teams this year. This is only the second time in the entire history of this game that both teams have had a winning record coming into this game. Interesting fact there. Kansas, to me, still very good. Jalen Daniels went down earlier in the season. I mean, if he stayed healthy, Kansas would be much better. They're sitting at 6-5, which is good, but they could be so much more. Kansas State, really high up, really high regarded in my opinion. They are at 8-3, the best 3-loss team in my opinion. But Kansas still an amazing offense, especially their rushing game. And but their defense does not hold up. Awful defense. Excuse me. Kansas State has had a pretty good offense. Their passing offense has not been there. It's been Adrian Martinez and Will Howard have been serviceable. But they have an amazing rush offense with Deuce Vaughn. And Kansas State has an amazing defense. Pretty good against the pass and the run. So, two teams, one of the most look forward to Sunflower Showdowns I can remember. Kansas State won last year 35-10, and the last time Kansas beat Kansas State was all the way back in 2008, 52-21. Kansas leads the series all time, though, 65 wins, 49 losses, and 5 ties. Kansas State has an 85% win probability, and I'm going to have to agree with them. I'm going to take Kansas State 38-35. Kansas State wins by 3. Kansas State wins, but they do not cover. Kansas State's favored by 11.5. They do not cover. Then I have another historic rivalry. I have the Apple Cup, number 13 Washington at Washington State. Washington is favored by 2. And I understand why. They've had some really big wins on the season. And they have an amazing offense, the best passing offense in the country, led by Michael Penix. And their defense has been substandard, but they do have a pretty good rushing defense. Washington State really been flip-flopped to what we're used to seeing. They've had a mid-offense with an amazing defense, especially an amazing running defense. But they do have a good passing offense. This one, they're going to play Mike Penix versus Cam Ward. Washington State actually beat them last year 40-13, but Washington is much improved. The last time Washington won was 2019, 31-13. Washington leads the series all time, 74 wins to 33 losses and 6 ties. Washington with just a 53% win probability, and I'm going to go with the Huskies. 45-41, Washington wins, but they cover. And then a very hyped up game as of late, South Carolina at number 8 Clemson. The Palmetto Bowl, as they call it. In-state rivals. Shout out to Clemson Fan 1 if he's watching this video. Let's see if you like my prediction. South Carolina coming in at 7-4, but they had a huge win over top 5 at the time, Tennessee, last week. I mean, they literally ran out of fireworks. And Spencer Rattler was playing at the top of his game. They've had a pretty good offense. They've actually had a pretty good passing offense. Spencer Rattler hasn't been amazing this year, but he's been pretty good, and he definitely showed up last week. And they have a decent pretty decent defense, a good passing defense. Clemson has been really good on both sides of the ball, being top 25 in both. Really good against the run, really good against the pass. And they have a good running game with Will Shipley. I like Clemson. DJ Uiagalelei has been shaky this season. But, Will Shipley in the running game, Brian Breesy and Miles Murphy on defense. But South Carolina does have Spencer Rattler, the amazing Juice Williams, and Cam Smith, who's going to be a top 10 pick in my opinion. So, a very interesting game. Clemson won last year 30-0. And the last time South Carolina beat Clemson was 2013, 31-17. Clemson does lead the series all time, 72 wins, 42 losses, and 4 ties. Clemson has an 89% win probability, and I'm going to have to agree that Clemson pulls out the win. They're favored by 14.5, and I think that's way too many points, but I give them the win for 2 reasons. One, Dabo Swinney is a really good coach. Now, it's no insult to Shane Beamer. I love Beamer ball, baby. Beamer ball. But Dabo Swinney is much more experienced and a better coach. And it's being played at Clemson. I can maybe give South Carolina the win if it was at South Carolina, but no, it's at Clemson. Clemson currently has the longest home win streak, and I think they continue it. 38-28, Clemson wins, but they do not cover. On Friday, now the Sunshine Showdown. Florida at number 16, Florida State. Florida is number 20 in offense, a top 20 offense. Remember, Florida State ranked 16th in the country. Overall, they have a top 10 offense. And both have amazing running games, both of these teams. But I think what it comes down to is that Florida's defense is very bad, and Florida State's defense is very good, especially against the pass. I like both these teams, though. Anthony Richardson is going to be a first-round pick. He is very physically gifted. Jordan Travis is quietly putting up an amazing year at Florida State. Florida beat them last year, 24-21. And the last time Florida State beat Florida was 2017, 38-22. Florida leads the series all time, 37 wins, 26 losses, and 2 ties. Florida State has a 77 win probability. Yeah, Florida State hasn't beat them since 2017. And you know what? I think that changes this weekend. Give me Florida State to win. Florida State wins 42-35. They win by 7. The spread is 9.5. Florida State wins, but they do not cover. And on Thursday, the Egg Bowl, Miss State at 20, Ole Miss. Ole Miss coming off a bad loss to Arkansas. A game where they had 700 yards of offense, but only like 27 points. Just embarrassing. Excuse me. Both teams are pretty good. Ole Miss 8-3, Miss State 7-4. This is one of the most underrated rivalries in college football, in my opinion. And these teams cannot be more polar opposite. Miss State, obviously, an amazing passing offense, one of the best in the country. And Ole Miss with the best rushing offense in the country. Both have pretty good defenses, although Miss State has a much better one, I would say. And this is a game that I think will be very close. I love the Egg Bowl, especially now that there's Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach in the same game. It's just amazing. Will Rogers is a really good guy. I really like him. Jackson Dart, Quinshon Judkins, Jonathan Mingo. That is a dangerous Ole Miss offense. Ole Miss won last year 31-21. The last time Mississippi State beat Ole Miss was 2019, 21-20 in the infamous Ole Piss game. If you know, you know. Ole Miss leads the series all time, 64 wins, 46 losses, and 6 ties. And Ole Miss has a 62 win percent probability. But, I think Mike Leach will get them guys playing, and I think they'll show up. I think Will Rogers will be airing it out, and Miss State will be enough to beat Ole Miss, even at Ole Miss. The line is 2.5 in favor of Ole Miss, but I'm taking Mississippi State in the upset. Give me Mississippi State 41-38. Mississippi State wins in an upset. And lastly, before our ranked versus ranked matchups, I have the best rivalry in college football. The Iron Bowl. Roll, Tide, roll. Yes, I love the Iron Bowl. Roll, Tide, roll. This year, Alabama is favored by 22 in the Iron Bowl. It's going to be at Tuscaloosa. Alabama ranked number 7. Auburn is 5-6, not having a great year, barely holding on to bowl eligibility. If they lose this game, they will not be bowl eligible. They have not had a good passing offense going through multiple quarterbacks this season, but they have been pretty good on the ground with running back Tank Bigsby. They have a decent defense, but they have not been too good against the run so far this season, but they've been a pretty good pass defense. Alabama, it's Alabama. They're 9-2, having a disappointing year, but they're still Alabama. They are top 10 in offense and defense. Both good against the pass. Good passing and good rushing. Pretty good against the pass and amazing against the run. And that fact right there is the fact why I'm picking Alabama to win. It's the fact they're amazing against the run. It's going to rain. This is going to be a ground and pound classic Iron Bowl. And I can't wait. Auburn led by Robbie Ashford and Tank Bigsby. Alabama led by a plentiful group of talented guys. Bryce Young, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase McCullough, Will Anderson, and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Bama won last year 24-22 in the disaster in the pasture. One of the best games I've ever witnessed with my own 2 eyes. And the last time Auburn beat them was 2019 in the infamous doink game where Auburn won when Alabama doinked the field goal off the uprights 48-45. Bama leads the series all time, 48 wins, 37 losses, and 1 tie. Roll Tide roll. Alabama has a 95% win probability. Now, though, 22 points, I think that's insane. I think that's literally insane. Maybe it's the fact that Auburn's played so many good games against us, but I think 22 points is way over what it should be. I have Alabama winning 31-17. Alabama wins by 14. They win, but they do not cover. Roll Tide roll. I hate Auburn. Roll Tide roll. Excuse me, guys. Sorry for the cough. It's very prevalent in this video. I've been sick. You just have to bear with me. Excuse me. Let's get into our ranked versus ranked matchups, of which there are 4. The first one being played on Friday. Number 19 Tulane at number 24 Cincinnati. Cincinnati only favored by 1. This is one of our closest matchups of the weekend. Tulane has a decent offense and a really good defense. They've been amazing against the pass this season. Cincinnati, with a decent offense and a pretty good defense, they've been pretty good against the pass. These teams are built very similarly, in my opinion. They're both 9-2. They both have good playmakers. Really, the fact it came down to for me was the fact that it's going to be at Cincinnati, and Luke Fickell is such an amazing coach. Give me the Cincinnati Bearcats to win this game. And I think they win 35-31. Cincinnati wins and covers. In the next game I have number 9 Oregon at 21 Oregon State. Oregon favored by 3. Oregon has obviously were in playoff contention. That has died out now, though. They've had an amazing offense this season. Amazing pass offense, amazing rush offense, just everything amazing. Top 5 offense. Their defense has been shaky at times. They've not been good against the pass, but they have been amazing against the run. Oregon State, not too sloppy. People are overlooking them severely. They are 8-3. They are pretty good on offense and really, really good on defense, especially their rushing offense and their rushing defense. Bo Nix has struggled these past few weeks. He's been hurt, a little banged up. Oregon beat them last year, 38-29. Oregon State, the last time they won was 2020, 41-38. Oregon leads the series all time, 67 wins, 48 losses, and 10 ties. Oregon has a 57% win probability. But I think a lot of people are underrating Oregon State in this game titled The Civil War. I think people are underrating them. And at Oregon State, I went back and forth, but I decided I'm going to pick Oregon State in the upset. 38-35, Oregon State wins in an upset. Then I have right before my game of the week, this would have been if it weren't for the game of the week. I have 15 Notre Dame at 6 USC. Notre Dame, a team that has been red hot as of lately, winning 8 of their last 9 games. Now, I know they did lose to teams like Marshall and Stanford, but that was way earlier in the year, and this Notre Dame team now is so different. They are playing very good. They beat Clemson. They beat North Carolina. They have some quality wins, and Marcus Freeman has them guys playing well. They are insanely talented, too, with Drew Pine throwing to Michael Mayer and Isaiah Foskey and Brandon Joseph on that defense. But USC isn't no slouch either. USC has one of the best offenses in the entire country. Top 5 passing offense led by the amazing Caleb Williams and the incredible Jordan Addison. And they've got a pretty decent defense, but their defense has struggled at times this season. 8-3 Notre Dame. A pretty good offense. They haven't been great with their passing attack, but they are good running it. And their defense has really stepped up. An amazing defense. Amazing against the pass and pretty good against the run. So I'm really excited to see Caleb Williams go up against this amazing pass defense. Caleb Williams has not seen a pass defense this good since last year when he was at Oklahoma against Iowa State, and he did so bad in that game. I don't think he does necessarily bad in this one. I'm very high on Caleb Williams. And I went back and forth on this one. You know, USC hasn't beaten Notre Dame since 2016, and Notre Dame won last year. Notre Dame leads the series all time, 48 wins, 36 losses, and 5 ties. But USC has a 66% win probability. But I am going to go with the Fighting Irish to win this one. Yes, I think the Fighting Irish get it done. USC is favored by 5.5, but I think Notre Dame wins. Give me Notre Dame 38-31. They win by 7 in an upset. And now the game of the week, the game of the year, the game of the century. We've already had a game of the century earlier this year with Georgia, Tennessee, but this matchup, top 3 bitter arch rivals and one of the best rivalries in college football. I mean, the last time Michigan and Ohio State were undefeated coming into this game was 2006, and that was dubbed the game of the century. This is one of the most hyped matchups of the entire year. Number 3 Michigan and number 2 Ohio State in the game. Ohio State favored by 7.5. It's going to be in Columbus. And let's take a look at both these teams. And by the way, thank you if you're still watching. We just hit the 30-minute mark. Yes, I know this video is super long. Michigan, very good offense, but they have not been great throwing it, but they have been amazing running it with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. And their defense has been amazing too. Top 5 against the pass and the best rushing defense in the country. But Ohio State isn't no slouch either, as they are undefeated, and they have the best offense in the country, amazing at passing and running, with C.J. Stroud and Travion Henderson and Meion Williams, and in the passing game with Stroud and Harrison and Akuma. But their defense is very overlooked, top 10 against the pass and top 15 against the rush. And this is a game I really debated. Michigan won last year 42-27. The last time Ohio State beat Michigan was 2019, 56-27. The last time Michigan beat Ohio State in Columbus was the year 2000. Michigan leads the series all times. 52 wins, 51 losses, and 6 ties. Ohio State with a 72 win probability. And man, I went back and forth. I really did. This is a tough one. But I went with the Ohio State Buckeyes to win the game. And what it really came down to is these are 2 great teams. Both amazing. And I think with such an important game like this, even if you have any flaws, it's going to be put under the light. And I think Michigan has more and bigger flaws than Ohio State, namely Michigan's passing game. I do not think J.J. McCarthy has that dog in him. I think he's good, but he's not C.J. Stroud. And I just think Ohio State eggs out the victory. Ohio State favored by 7.5. I think they win 45-38. Ohio State wins by 7. Ohio State wins, but they do not cover. And those are my picks for Rivalry Week. Yes, I know this video was like 35 minutes long. Thank you for watching. This is one of the longest videos I've uploaded in so long. And I've been telling myself, hey, I need to stop talking as much because I make these videos so long. But, you know, it's Rivalry Week. I got to give myself a pass on this one. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win the big game? Who do you think is going to win the Iron Bowl? Roll Tide. And how do you think your favorite team is going to do on Rivalry Week? Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.